We'll start soon. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Morning Coffee with Rob, RE-Brewed. This is episode 2 of our restart and our changes to everything. We were looking at trying to do some more kind of fun, funky things as well again. Just some technical issues this morning, which kind of prevented it, which is a little too bad, but what do? You just kind of keep moving forward, right? You just take the punch and kind of roll with it and keep moving forward and hope for the best. So this is what we're hoping for, is hoping for the best. So that's what we're kind of doing right at the moment. And we're just going to keep going forward with it, and we'll see how it all rolls. What we were trying to do is we were trying to use Streamlabs OBS to record and then be able to present some graphics and things for everybody. However, unfortunately, it's not cooperating with my computer. So what do? So we just closed it off, put it to the side, and we continued on. And we just won't have all the fun, funky graphics I was hoping to have, but that's okay. Still here, still having some fun, and still enjoying talking to you guys. So this was a topic that I kind of last minute decided on because I wasn't really sure. One, I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about, and two, it seems to be an important thing right at the moment to discuss, which is choices and consequences. Now, when people think consequences, they're thinking things that are going to be bad that happen, right? I don't know about you, but every time I hear the word consequences, that's kind of how I feel, is that something bad is probably about to happen because I've made a choice. Now there's going to be some kind of consequence. However, consequences can be both good or bad. The consequence is just a consequence. Consequence is a word. It's not actually meaning anything specifically, whether it's good or bad. It's just a word. No matter what choices you make, there is going to be some kind of consequence in the end. So if you make a choice here, you have either consequence A or consequence B. One good, one bad. There might be other ones in there too. But for now, we're just going to keep it fairly binary for the most part to keep it simple. And we're just going to go with the fact that there's two consequences, a good one and a bad one. And depending on which one you're getting and what side of views you might be even on as to whether it's good or bad, it's all a matter of perspective, I guess, some of it as well. We can't really talk a whole lot to that part of it because I'm just doing what I can for the most part and moving forward and hopefully providing some sort of value right at the moment, which I feel like I'm stumbling a little bit on, which is all right too. Oops. So what the world right now, with a lot of the things that are going on, it's starting to really seem like people are making some choices and then not enjoying the consequence that's coming out of it. So they're going to make choice A, and then they're going to get consequence A or B. And depending on how they feel about what has transpired with their choice is kind of determining how they're going to react. In a lot of cases, right at the moment, people are making a choice and then they're reacting super poorly to that choice. And it doesn't matter what choice they've made, the consequence that they're receiving isn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. So they are acting out and kind of being adult children about the whole thing, which is really too bad. So all they need to really take into account is that they've made a choice. Nothing's bad about it, really. It's what they decided to do is with the best knowledge that they had at the time. But they need to realize that there's consequences that are going to happen to it. Like, you can't do something and not expect a reaction. It's like, I think it's the theory of relativity. Somebody's going to correct me on that, I'm sure. Where for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So really, if you've chosen this, there's going to be something that's going to be an opposite to it in one way or another. It's like if you're a parent, how many of you have children, right? Your child acts up, does something bad, colors on the wall, breaks dishes, kicks the dog, whatever it might be. Hopefully they aren't doing something like kicking the dog, but you get the point. They've made a choice, they've acted out, they've done something bad, and now they're going to get a consequence for it. They're going to get punished for it. Whereas if they made a good decision and say voluntarily did the dishes, that's a hint from my oldest. Do the dishes voluntarily. And at that point, you would reward them with a good consequence, something that they maybe wanted, something that they were looking to potentially get at some point, because you're now rewarding them for a choice that they made that was good. Whereas before we were trying to, not reward them, but show them a consequence for an action that we deemed inappropriate, like breaking dishes, coloring on the walls, stuff like that. It's like when we're going through video games, we have choices to make there too. Luckily, we have the magic reset button a lot of times where we can just kind of go back and restart and go forward again. But we got to realize that we've made a choice, and we can follow that path down a little further. And sometimes we get a choice again to go back kind of maybe the other way a little bit more as well, which is great. And that's what happens. Like we can make a choice. It can be wrong in the end. And then we can be like, made the choice. It was wrong. Sorry. I should have definitely chosen the other direction, but this is the way I chose because that's what felt right to me at that time. And now, obviously, the truth has come up to light, and this is the direction I probably should have taken. And it's no fault. You're just making the best choice that you can with what the information you have at that time. That's all we can really do in the end, is just make a choice that we can with the information we have and hope it's the right choice. Now, with the people who are making some choices and then acting up on them, that's a whole other issue. Now you've made a choice and now you're acting out because the choice had something that happened that you didn't like. And now you aren't happy with that choice. Now you're blaming other people and other entities for it. And that's not right. It's not their fault. It's your fault. You made the choice. Own the choice. Take it on as yours. It's fine. It's not going to be, in the end, bad. It might not pan out the way you wanted it to, but in the end, you did what you thought was right. You can be proud of that. It's cool. Just take it. It's fine. But just realize that you made this choice, and now this is the consequence that you were handed. Don't lash out. Don't blame. Just take it. Take the ownership on it. It's like Jocko Willink always says, extreme ownership. You made a choice, own it. Just own it. That's all you got to do. Well, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm just saying I've got to own my choices too. And I try to own all of my choices and the way I've lived my life and where I'm at and where I was at. This is where I'm going. Over here, I made some bad choices and that didn't get me to where I wanted to go. But now I've moved over to here, and now I can start making better choices because I recognize the fact that I've made some not so stellar choices. As you see on my board here, this is what I've done, how I feel about a lot of it, but this is who I'm going to end up being right here in the middle. Because I realized that I haven't been owning my life. I haven't been disciplined enough. I've made choices that aren't in my best interest long term. My choices a lot of the times have been instant gratification style choices where I was getting something immediately instead of building something long term. And that's okay at the time because I didn't know better. But as I've grown and become better and realized what I've done to myself, to my family, most likely too, I can now take the appropriate steps to try to make it better. Try to realize, hey, I did this. I'm like, yeah, this was on me. I did it. This wasn't anybody else. Nobody made me go and do this. I followed some advice maybe. They didn't make me take the advice. I followed it. It was my choice to follow it. It was my choice to go out and do this. It was my choice to go out and do that. And now, as a result, I am suffering some consequences from it. Some of them are really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't made some of these choices. I would be probably sleeping in still. I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be doing live video. I wouldn't be doing all these fun things that I'm trying to do now with my life because I've grown from my choices and I've understood that where I was is not who I'm going to be or where I'm going. This is what I did. This is what I'm doing. And this is better now. I've made progress. I've become better. I'm making better choices, smarter choices. I'm realizing that instant gratification isn't the way to go. Now, to be fair, I do still have moments where I take some instant gratification, but I try to make them small and more reward style than like buying a big thing to instantly gratify me. Like if I wanted to, I could go out and buy like a brand new mountain bike. That's what I would really like. Because I love mountain biking. Like I would go spend like 3-4 grand on a new mountain bike, but that's not in the cards. Like I have other things I want to get done. I have other obligations. I have more of a different focus. Like this is more of my focus right now. I still have bikes. I can go biking when I want to. So I don't need a new one. I just want a new one. So I'm making the conscious choice to not go out and buy a new one. I'm concentrating on creating this. I'm concentrating on building life coaching and counseling practice. I'm concentrating on a whole lot of other things. I'm wanting to help more people. I'm wanting to create like a dent in the universe, as they always say. It's just where I'm more at right at the moment that I've realized like this is what I've been, and I've been kind of coasting it. And I was just like, no, I can't keep doing this because I think it was Robin Sharma said that you can't live your life, the same life year after year, because that's not living. That's just being on repeat and coasting. It was something like that. I'm sure it might not have been him. I just remember him saying something kind of close to that. We're just living your life on repeat. That's all you're doing. You're not changing. You're not growing. You're not doing anything. You got to make that's a conscious choice. That's a choice, and you're going to have a consequence in the end for that choice because you're not going to have done anything. You're not going to have anything in the end to pass along to your kids. You're not going to have a legacy of any kind, most likely. Whereas if you make that choice, which you can at any point because that's still a restart, and you can make a choice to do something better and grow and become more and be able to provide more for your kids and be able to provide more for your community and be able to do all of these things that you want to do and be able to do them for others. You just need to maybe I should have called this episode ownership, because really it's about ownership of what you're doing and of your life. You can't just make a choice, have the choice not work out and get the consequence that you don't like and then have a temper tantrum. You're not a 5 to 10-year-old kid anymore. You're an adult. You're probably like 30 to 60, if not older. And you're making a choice, you don't like it, and then you're acting like a kid. Get over it. You made the choice. Either own it or change your mind. It's the great thing about being humans. We have the ability to change our minds. We have free will. And that's never going away. We can change our minds. We make this choice, we change our mind, we can make a better choice. Right? Right? I know you got to agree with me on this because it's the truth. We can do one thing and then we can do another thing. We can make this choice. Doesn't work out, we can make a new choice. So as an example, just the other day, my kids were at school. They got an email saying they're going into secure and hold. That basically just means something's happened at the school, not threatening. They just had to lock down the school to prevent the kids from going in and out because there was something that was perceived as a threat on the outside of the school trying to get in. So what was happening was people were protesting at the school for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into it because it's not that important. And then at some of these schools, for whatever reason, they decided to protest at them. They decided to enter the school. They entered the school. They made a conscious choice to go to the schools to protest. Then they made a conscious choice to enter the school to protest, and they got in trouble for it. And they're up in arms about it and defending themselves and saying this and saying that. And it's just like, you made this choice to go to the school. Like, if you were a parent of one of the kids at the school, you've now made the choice to not be that parent, but be the protester. And if you're the protester who's now entered the school, you've now made the choice to not be the protester, but be the trespasser. You're not all three of these. Well, you are, but you moved from being the parent who had concern to the protester to the trespasser. You've just basically made a downhill slide on your scale. If you wanted to be the parent and protest, there was a better way than going to the school, and especially entering the school. You could have kept your kid from school, sent an email to the teacher, to the principal, and to the school district, and just saying, this is what we're doing, this is why, and we don't agree with this as to what you're doing. So little Jimmy or whoever is staying out of school until this is done. And they would have probably been okay with it. They would have sent homework home, do online schooling, and been like, that's a good form of protest, because now you're pulling people out of the school. So there's not as many people, and that they'll understand that. They'll get it. It's like, okay, there's more and more people pulling the kids out of school because they weren't happy with this thing, instead of entering the school and trespassing where you're not supposed to. Now, I don't know the whole details. I'm just going off of what I've heard, but that's kind of my view on it. It's my view. It doesn't have to be your view. It's just, I wanted to express that because it's just, this is actually what brought it up. It's a very frustrating thing because now people are up in arms about it. They made a choice. To me, I don't think they made the correct choice, especially one, protesting at a school for something that should never have been they shouldn't have been protesting at the school. Now, maybe granted, what was happening at the school shouldn't have been at the school, and more in like more of a private function or a private area or public building. But two, they shouldn't have never entered the school after that as well, unless they were actually going in to get their kids and then they had permission at the office or whatever. That's fine. It's just, yeah. And then people are up in arms because they decided, anyway. I could just go on and just ramble about the whole thing, because it being in the spot that I'm feeling like I'm personally in now, and watching some of the things unfold across the world, not even just in my community, but in Canada, the United States, Europe, China, Russia, Africa, Australia, all these places. People have made choices, and other people have made choices. I guess that's maybe where the conundrum sits, is you make a choice, but somebody else makes a choice. And now those two choices might not meet and congeal together. They just butt heads. So maybe that's where the problem is. It really probably is. That's it. Probably exactly the issue is you've made a choice. Somebody else has made a choice. They're not a choice that meld together very well. And now we're having a fight. And we don't need to have a fight. They're just choices. Like I said, we can change our minds. Some of them are even temporary choices. Most choices are temporary. But some of the stuff is just going to go away eventually. That's the plan with some of the stuff. Some of the things are just like, maybe it's a temporary choice. Maybe we just have to do this short term. Maybe it's a long-term choice. I don't know. But the idea is we don't need to fight continuously over this. We could just sit down and have a calm and orderly discussion. Just because my viewpoint is different from your viewpoint doesn't mean anything. It just means we have different views, and we should be able to be civil about the whole thing and just sit and talk. I have a friend whose viewpoint differs a lot from mine. Not a huge amount, but enough that I do question her on some of the things, and I throw some ideas out, and she tells me some things back. And we have a very civil discussion about the whole thing. I even told her, I'm like, you know what, your viewpoint is completely different. I don't fully agree with it, but we can at least have a civil discussion. I'm like, and we can still remain friends out of it, because you can have your opinion and your thoughts. I can have my opinion and my thoughts. These are how we've chosen to believe things. And we sit and talk, and we're friends in the end. Still, It's just the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have good civil discussions. I'm not sure exactly when everything that we have has turned into a knife fight, a verbal knife fight constantly. Like, when did civility go out the window? Was it the beginning of COVID? Was it before COVID? Was it like 9/11? Was it Y2K? Was it the tech bubble? Was it the .com bubble? Like, I'm not sure. I'm just picking things out because I'm like trying to find a pinpoint. Was it Woodstock 99 where all of a sudden things went out the window? Was it like Gen X just being super angry all the time? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know when we lost our civility where we couldn't just sit down and have a calm and orderly discussion and say, this is what I feel like we should choose. This is what I feel like we should choose. And to see if we can find something in the middle. I mean, look at our governments. Just one government can't decide on one thing easily. They don't have a common orderly discussion. They literally stand on the each side of the island, like yell at one another and say bad things, and then they have a vote, an election, and then they say nasty things back and forth over the TV and on the internet, and instead of just being respectful of one another. And in the end, I'm sure there's some respect there, but they don't exude it, which then, as the leaders, not exuding this proper humility and stuff to the others, then reflects on us, and then we pick it up, and then we start doing the same kinds of things. They've made a choice which has actually indirectly affected us because we're separated by whatever lines we're separated by. However, we don't need to be. We can make better choices for ourselves. We can make a choice that gives our children better options, gives our lives better options. We can do all kinds of things if we just make better choices, or make a choice that is more of a long-term choice than a short-term choice. Like, stop and think. Actually think before we speak. Make that conscious choice. Think. We're always telling our kids, think before you speak. As adults, we should be thinking before we speak. A lot more. As an adult, I probably should have planned this out better. I made a choice not to prepare. But I'm okay with that. I realize that. I can just ramble. It's just me. Nobody's watching. I mean, somebody might be watching at some point, but right now no one is. And that's okay. It's me. I can ramble. I can talk. I can make that choice that I can just talk about whatever I really feel like. No consequence to me. I don't feel bad about it. I made that choice. I own it. I like this. I think it's kind of fun. I would like to get some co-hosts and stuff going on too. I want to start using stereo more for audio and have co-hosts on that and be able to spend like an afternoon doing a podcast. I think that would be a lot of fun, like a live podcast for a few hours. Like, that's a choice I want to be able to make with other people. Right now, though, it's not conceivable. So I'm making a choice to do this on my own. And it's fun. I'm enjoying it. And I get to pick topics. I want other people to be able to help me pick topics. I'm kind of a smart dude, pretty creative. But at the same time, I would like some help. But right now, because I'm starting back out, I'm having to make the choice of doing a lot of this stuff on my own. And that's okay. Like, it's totally okay. I'm totally down with this. I'm having a lot of fun and I'm enjoying it all. But it's the people that make choices. And actually, I have a coworker that makes choices, and she's older. They're older, and they made some choices throughout life that haven't really suited them. And they're very much, I mean, I don't know if it's because of a generation thing, but they're very much seeming to be unwilling to fix it and make it better for themselves. I don't know why. I try to figure out I try to analyze a little bit more what's going on, but it's like deep rooted. And they just don't seem to want to let go of the past. They're very angry about the past and how they've been treated by certain things and stuff. I'm like, which is fine. I'm like, if they were treated poorly, I'm like, They have every right to be upset about it. But at some point, you got to let it go to heal. You got to make that choice to let things go. I had to make a choice just recently to let things go, let somebody go. And that's fine. They made a choice. I didn't like their choice. That was their choice. And now they get the consequence of me choosing to let them go. They're now out of my life. Like, as of last night, I'm like, I couldn't do it. They're done. And that's fine. It's a good choice for me in the end. Because now I free up mental capacity. I don't have to sit and wonder the entire time. And it's freeing. I enjoy it. I can concentrate more on stuff like this. I can concentrate more on creating my practice that I want to create. I can concentrate on getting a good cup of coffee. I can concentrate on figuring me out more. I can attempt to fill my calendar, which isn't filled here, but it's filled digitally on my computer. I can make better choices and understand things a lot better for myself and for my kids and my family. Making a better choice is just one step at a time. You just got to take a look and see kind of where you're at, where you want to be at, and if the choices you're making right now are going to get you there. Like, if you want to be a millionaire, but you choose to hang out on the couch and watch Netflix 10 hours a day, you're probably not going to get here. No, probably about it. You're not going to get here unless they figure out a way of paying you to watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever. But if you make choices to go and work towards something, you can definitely get to whatever your goal here is. It's literally a matter of making a different choice. Like, don't choose to sit and watch Disney Plus the entire time. And I'm guilty for this too. I'm like, I love Star Wars. Straight up. I love Star Wars. I'll watch Star Wars all day long. I like the Matrix movies. I like sci-fi. I like stuff like that, like smart TV, and I get sucked into stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm just as guilty for it. So this is definitely no judgment. I fall into these traps too, especially with my kids. I'm like, I want to do something, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to do something with my kids. So I'm like, I make the choice to do something with them instead, because that's where I'm at. I want to be able to do things with them. Then during the week, I'll work on my other stuff when they're not around, because now I have to fill my time. And why not fill it with something that I want to build and grow, where I have them on the weekends, so I build and grow with them. That's my choice. And then my choice is to do the work that I want to do during the week. Now you're like, Rob, this is Sunday. Your kids are at home. If you said you have them on the weekend. Yes. My kids are still in bed. Yes. It is almost 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. They're still in bed. That's okay. My choice is to let them sleep in on Sundays, because why not? They've been going to school all week. I know as a teenager, I like to sleep in. Like, I would still like to sleep in, but I got things to do. I got to choose to get up early. I got to choose to go and do this. I got to choose to go and get groceries. I got to do laundry. Actually, my choice is to get the oldest to do laundry today, because that's what he does. But that's just what I'm saying. Like, we have all the choices in the world to make. We have free will, and we can choose whatever we want to do. And if we don't like one choice, we can change our mind and make a new one. No big deal. We just say, oops, this choice didn't work out. Oops, this was wrong. Oops, I'm sorry, this didn't work for us. Pan out for you, hurt you, whatever. But I'm going to make better choices from now on. And this is what I'm going to do. And I feel like if you're really kind of upfront with people about some of the choices, some people are generally quite understanding. Not always. You're going to run into those people. And it happens. Nothing you can do about it. But the people you want to try to make sure you avoid are the people who make the choices and then don't own those choices. And they just have a temper tantrum instead. Those are the people that you don't want to be associated with. They're just going to drag you down. They aren't going to own anything in their lives. Like, they're not going to own mentally and emotionally much of anything. They're going to pass the buck. They're going to pass the blame. because they don't like their choices, and they like their choice, but they don't like the consequence that might have come out of it that they didn't want. Just my view. Let me know what you think. You can always comment on the videos afterwards, or you can leave me stuff on Twitter, which you can do. Oh, I guess it's on the other side. Boop, right there. Unless you're on Get Vocal, you just watch me point at nothing. This will get fixed eventually, but I just don't know how I'm going to get it going. Pardon me. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can follow me on Instagram as well. See some of the micro adventures the kids and I get up to. If you want to continue on with the fun and the conversation and get some good positivity out of the world, you can hit me over on Discord. Just look for the Abundance Brotherhood. If you're on Instagram or Twitter, you just look for Elderobbo, ELDEROBBO. Or you can check out my website, rob-hicks.com. That's where my blog is and all my other fun stuff. Or if you would like, you can also support me over on Patreon. Just look for Elderobbo, ELDEROBBO. All right. I hope you all had a great time. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, which I think marks it as October. Yeah, it's definitely going to be in October. October 3rd. Ooh, getting into the Halloween month. Yeah, so we will see you back on October 3rd. Same bat time, same bat channel. October 3rd. We'll see you then. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your coffee. Enjoy your Sunday. I look forward to seeing you again. See ya. I like my mouse to work.